This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
What is going on? Happy Friday. We made it, ladies and gentlemen. It's the end of the week, and we got a lot to recap from the week that was in professional wrestling. Welcome into the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Rick Ucchino, SP3. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. If you like what you hear, give us that little thumbs up button. If you really like what you hear, go ahead and hit subscribe while you're at it as well, and turn the frickin' bell on, folks, so you get those notifications. Just like when I dropped my exclusive interview with Apollo Crews. I say exclusive like he didn't talk to like 9 other outlets too. But my exclusive interview with Apollo Crews that dropped at 9 a.m. this morning. Make sure to check that out. Talking all things Halloween Havoc this weekend. Talking about how he lost his passion for pro wrestling and got it back with the move to NXT. Little Halloween conversation as well. Some dad-to-dad costume talk as far as daughters are concerned. It was all around a good time with Apollo Crews, and that is available now here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel and on the podcast channel, available anywhere podcasts are. SP3, how we doing this fine Friday?
I am doing fabulous this Friday. It is a Friday. It's the end of the week. The weekend is here. We got Halloween Havoc coming up this weekend. We got some New Japan shows. New Japan has their big shows in New York. I'll be there next Thursday for their mystery vortex type show, the mystery card. So I'll be there front row for that one. Friday night, I don't know if I'll be there for the second show. Maybe not. But it's a good week, and it's been a very interesting week in wrestling. It was very weird having a Wednesday with no wrestling.
I know.
I very much felt like I was in a desert and hadn't drank in a while when Impact came on Thursday.
Oh, just thirsty, just straight up thirsting for it. Yeah, it was weird. And like Wednesday rolls around, it's like, if you're not into playoff baseball, did the NBA start by Wednesday or was that?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I watched. I watched that. I watched that from like 7 to like 1 a.m. in the evening. So the NBA and free League Pass week has been hitting me up. So I know we got to plug our friends at Bet Online. It's a good time. You got the NFL. This is the only time of the year. NFL, NBA, MLB, all running at once. MLB playoffs, NFL's already going. NBA opening week this week. My Lakers are 0-2, so I'll let Rick continue.
I was gonna say, hey, don't forget MLS. You know, I'm in mourning. FC Cincinnati lost to the Philadelphia Union last night, so they got knocked out. But
the NHL,
And the NHL, Columbus has won like 2 matches. So games, whatever the fuck they're called. I don't even know. Hey, if you're into sports like we are, all the sports, football's back, MLB, MLS, all the ones we mentioned, tennis, boxing, golf, they're all there. Bet Online is your number one source for all of your betting needs this season. You'll get the latest odds, matchup information, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all NFL season long, all year round. Go to betonline.ag to join. Receive your 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just make sure to use our promo code Bleav, that is BLEAV, to receive your rewards. I said 100. Bet Online, where the game starts. And speaking of 100, I forgot to mention, when I told y'all to subscribe earlier, when we get to 500 subscribers, one of y'all is winning $100 to either WWE or AEW shop on us. That's free merch. Go get your Scissor Me Daddy ass shirt. Go get all the new Bray Wyatt merch that's going to be coming out. Scissors all around. Screw you, Smart Mark Sterling, and your lawsuits. Anyway, by the way, Renee Paquette just doing that subtle little bat down to, that is what she brings to the table, and she's so fucking good at what she does. But anyway, I digress.
There, and with the Danielson Yuta promo segment, her facial expressions there were tremendous.
That was a little difficult to pay attention to because the sound system in Heritage Bank Center sucks. And John Moxley even cut a promo after the show on the sound system, which was absolutely hilarious. Regardless, check out my pinned tweet for all the details on the giveaway at Rick Ucchino. As you see it on the screen for those listening on the podcast, it's RICKUCCHINO. Follow him as well, True Heel SP3, no E in the True. And let's dive into this. We do got to talk about Dynamite and everything that happened, including the unfortunate main event, but the setup that happened afterwards. Again, weird that it was on a Tuesday this week, but it was still a damn good show. Some new reports coming out from the Wrestling Observer, including the possible return of one of SP3's favorite events. We had just the IWC go absolutely batshit insane this week over a AEW dark match. I can't believe that those words just came out of my mouth, but massive double standard in my book. We will talk about that. Bianca Belair made history this week. We got Halloween Havoc to dive into, but SP3, our lead story today in the Wrestling Observer report today, Dave Meltzer confirming that, or at least reporting that AEW is in now buyout talks with CM Punk. We've gotten our first movement this week on anything surrounding that brawl since it happened 2 months ago. Ace Steel has officially been released from the company, which surprised only him, reportedly. Nobody else is shocked by that. But the fact that we now have buyout conversations regarding CM Punk to get the rest of his years purchased and him getting a lump sum and basically getting sent back home to Chicago, or at least getting to stay in Chicago, whatever he's doing right now. Meltzer says this casts a major doubt over obviously whether or not he's going to be back in AEW. And it definitely sounds like he's done. There's one hang up reportedly right now, which we'll get into in a moment because it's an interesting one. But when you read this story, buyout discussions 1 year after he returns, I mean, it's almost, it just feels wrong that if this is the end, it's ending this way.
It feels even sadder than how he ended his WWE run, because the WWE run was built up over years. Literally, this all started with a promo with someone with a guy who's in his early 30s, going in Punk's mind, going into business for himself. And he felt the company and the EVPs didn't handle the business right, and it just all sputtered out from there. But CM Punk, and I don't think that even he, in retrospect, years from now, will be able to look back on this and say that he handled this the right way. And I think in retrospect, AEW could have handled this a lot better. But it's really, really sad that this might mark the end of CM Punk's run in AEW, in probably in wrestling. Because I mean, even though, we're going to talk about the non-compete clause and the option for WWE to possibly swoop in, I don't see that happening. I think that if this is the end of his run in AEW, and especially how it's going down, I think this is the end of CM Punk in professional wrestling.
Well, I mean, you brought it up. Meltzer saying that the non-compete clause is the hang-up in the buyout deal right now. And the reason why that is interesting is because if there was 0% chance that CM Punk is going to WWE, or at least had 0% interest in going to WWE or AEW, the fact that AEW is working with him on a non-compete clause, there has to be at least some thought there that he could go to somebody else. And let's be honest, the only other place that he would go would be WWE, whether it's because they're the only ones that are going to give him the bag that he wants to come back. And I'm sure that bag would have to be bigger than what he got in AEW for sure. But I mean, the fact that this is hanging out there, it does kind of make you wonder, holy crap, could that be a possibility? Could he return to WWE out of spite? Like literally out of spite for how things ended in AEW? Does he want to go back and end his wrestling career in another way? Or does he just not care anymore? I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. CM Punk's relationship with Triple H wasn't exactly great. Probably maybe even worse than it was with CM Punk, or with Vince McMahon. So I don't know if there would be interest on WWE's part. I don't know if there would be interest on Punk's part, but somebody thinks that there would be interest there if a non-compete is a hang up in this deal.
I mean, to me, this is Punk's perfect opportunity to do what he always wanted. He's always wanted to be Bret Hart. And Bret Hart, he repaired his relationship with Vince McMahon to allow him to come back, have one final match at a WrestleMania in WWE against Vince McMahon, and go right out in the sunset until he wanted to go to AEW again, and then they re-signed him to a Legends contract. But nonetheless, this is CM Punk's perfect opportunity. I think it might be a hang up. This is not me like reporting anything, but how I read the situation based on the report in Wrestling Observer is I think that AEW is just being on the safe side with any releases that they had that you get a non-compete clause, especially if you're a release that had years left on your contract. I think it's similar to what people were talking about with the whole Malachi Black situation. But with CM Punk, this is even bigger. This is the only person bigger than Cody Rhodes leaving AEW and going to WWE would be if CM Punk chose got a buyout from AEW and went to WWE. This would be the big coup for Triple H to say that I'm like Vince McMahon. I can recover my relationships like Vince McMahon did with Bruno Sammartino, with the help of Triple H, with Ultimate Warrior, with the help of Triple H, with Bret the Hitman Hart. He did all of that. So this would be kind of the big stamp on Triple H's run as the head of creative in that Vince McMahon chair, that he can do the same thing. So I think that AEW is being on the safe side, and I think that the reason that it's a hang up, what I'm reading into the situation is that CM Punk probably is like, no, I don't want a non-compete clause. I don't want to go to WWE.
Yeah.
He's probably saying that either honestly, facetiously, like he's saying it like, oh yeah, I'm just saying this because I know this is what you want to hear, but I am thinking about going over there just to spite you for having these EVPs report things to Dave Meltzer. That's how I feel, because I'm CM Punk and I am one of the kings of petty. If it wasn't for the same guy from my hometown of Chicago, Kanye West, I would be number one in pettiness.
I mean, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Like, I mean, he is petty, man. And it all depends, right? Because it's like, who is he petty towards and who does he hurt most by going back to WWE? What is his relationship with Tony Khan? I have to feel like it's pretty good, because it's never been. Tony Khan put everything behind CM Punk, literally put this company that the EVPs and other people built, put it on CM Punk's back and said, carry us to the fucking promised land. And he stepped in a gopher hole and fell down a hill with the entire fucking company on his back. And now you got other people trying to lift it back up again. Including the guy that Punk beat in Chicago for the AEW World Championship, and Jon Moxley. So Tony Khan has always had Punk's back. He has always been willing to have a long leash with CM Punk. So I have to imagine that the Punk-Tony Khan relationship, while it may be on rocky ground right now, none of this was really any ill will or anger toward Tony Khan. So would CM Punk going back to WWE, who would that hurt the most? It would probably be Tony. So I don't know what that would accomplish. But at the same time, CM Punk, he may be the king of petty. He's also a businessman. And if WWE will come at him with that big ass bag at age 42, 43, whatever the hell age that he's eligible to come back. Also remember, he's injured right now. He's got a torn tricep, so he ain't going to be healthy until next year any damn way. He'll do it, man. If the business makes sense and they can clear a lot of red tape, I think he would do it. The big question to me is, would that be the best business decision? Triple H always talks about doing what's best for business. That is a question we will ask when we get to the
if I'm Triple H, I would be thinking, yeah, it's great for the image of, taking someone, probably the biggest star in AEW history, away. Great. But it better be probably like a 1-year part-time deal, because anything longer than that, you risking a cancer being in your locker room when the locker room is happier than it ever been.
Yeah, and there's also a health factor. They got to look into that. Again, we'll dive into that.
Also true. Yeah, by the time he's healthy, he's gonna be 44 years old, probably.
Yeah.
Like,
so. We'll dive into that more coming up here in the 5 count. Brought up Jon Moxley earlier. The King of Cincinnati had his night this Tuesday in the Queen City. That place absolutely adores that man. The roof just blew off the Heritage Bank Center when he came out to the crowd. Red hot start to that main event between him and Hangman Page. Hangman Page doing the jump off of the whatever you want to call it, the opening there, the doorway there to the arena. Literally a row in front of me. I'm right there in front of Hangman as he's doing his backflip onto John Moxley. Mox is revving up the crowd. This was a white hot match that didn't even get started until after they had beaten the hell out of each other for like 10 minutes. They were really cooking with gas. And then unfortunately, just something as simple as a lariat, man. A lariat that, Hangman put a little bit of extra English on, like we have seen countless superstars do, and he just lands wrong. And I feel it kind of feels wrong saying this, but thankfully it was just a concussion because it could have been a lot worse. And we'll see how, severe that concussion is. I can say this much. I know a guy who was flying to New York out of CVG the next morning and ended up sitting in the airport next to Hangman Page and chatted up with him. And he seemed to be doing in good spirits and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm getting that secondhand information, but all accounts the next morning, he seemed to be doing just fine. So I can at least say that much right there. But man, it was just an unfortunate end to what was overall a really great show on Tuesday night. Hot crowd to be there. Fantastic atmosphere as it typically is in these AEW shows. But man, you couldn't help but be in the stands and you could just feel the wind sucked out of it because very quickly you could tell this wasn't normal. This wasn't what was supposed to be going down. The doctors were very quick to get into the ring. So I think everybody reacted in a perfect way to an unfortunate situation, including Mox. But after about 2 or 3 minutes of dead silence in the arena and nothing really going on or cooking, you knew something was wrong. Initially, I'm like, oh shit, there's 9 minutes left in this show. They just KO'd Hangman. Are we getting MJF? Are they actually going to have MJF come down after that brilliant promo exchange where William Regal is screaming at him to earn the damn thing, go out and earn it? He's going to come down and we're going to get the cheap heat title win in Cincinnati. Is that what we're doing here? But it was very quickly realized, no, that was not the plan. MJF came out and riffed with John Moxley to set up the match for the AEW championship at Full Gear. And I talked about the show being spectacular from start to finish. I don't know how it came off on TV, SP3, because I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But that exchange between MJF and William Regal, I was captivated. I was glued to my chair. I was hanging on every single word. And as great as MJF was, I was in awe at the fact that William Regal, in his rebuttal, could barely get a word out at the start because people were booing him so loudly. And then he turned it around and got the crowd behind him by the end of it. That was a masterful promo class. And it worked out, came back full circle at the end where MJF comes out and says, you know what, Regal, for the first time in my miserable fucking life, or I'm paraphrasing, whatever it was he says, I'm going to earn it. I want you at 110%. So you know there's no doubt that I'm better than you and you know it. Moxley, MJF, Full Gear. I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about this. The MJF face turn was always going to be interesting. We're starting to get the layers peeled back on just why MJF is that asshole that he is. And that exchange, that history that he brought up with William Regal, all of this was just so perfectly well done on Tuesday.
It was the best promo exchange, the best promo segment of 2022. I think that the only things that compare to it this year have been other stuff with MJF. Whether it's his pipe bomb on the June 1st episode of Dynamite, whether it's his Syndrome villain origin story against CM Punk in the build-up to Revolution. So yeah, all those ones are up there, but this one was just such a great story because of what it sets up. Yes, it adds another layer to the ongoing story of the will he, won't he, as far as MJF turning babyface. We know the reports have said, Wrestling Observer has reported MJF doesn't want to turn babyface, but the crowd is saying he should. But William Regal, I have to hand it to him because he is just so good at this. Just how he was able to kind of flip the crowd. And, you know, MJF's story about being 19 years old, going to the tryout, being the best at the tryout, but being too young for WWE and sending the emails to William Regal. It made you be like, oh, you had the fans saying you effed up to William Regal because he didn't hire MJF when he was 19. And then MJF saying like the email that he sent about, you know, they only want the best talent in the world, so he hit us up when you're one of them. And it made him want to quit wrestling and made him want to take his own life. You wanted to rally behind him. And then William Regal just said, man, I was 16 years old when I started wrestling. I was getting beat up by grown men. I had blood coming out of parts of my body that I didn't even know existed. So if it was an email that needed to get this out of you, then consider yourself lucky. That was just like, oh my God, he turned us. Yes, we were stupid to go with MJF. MJF is another guy. This is why he is a student of the CM Punk game. He lives off of pettiness. That's his character trait. He does all of this. He is the jerk that people are now loving to hate because of all this pettiness that he has, because his favorite wrestler, his hero, quit the business because William Regal, someone he respected, someone that he thought could be his mentor, rejected him. He's all built on pettiness and a chip on his shoulder, and it creates a great story and it creates a great situation where, yes, they can go the route of MJF turning babyface, but if MJF prefers to be heel, I think the best thing to do, and I have to hand it to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, because I didn't really think of this coming out of the promo, but once he said it, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. The way to turn MJF heel and make him stay heel is William Regal turning on Jon Moxley at Full Gear and aligning with MJF. And then you have the whole Blackpool Combat Club against MJF as a heel world champion. That would be the brilliant way to go about all of this from this excellent promo segment. And it would elevate this promo segment because you have the origin story, and then to have Regal be like, yeah, you know what? I was wrong. I'm going to align with this guy over the guys I put my name to. I'm putting my name to this guy in this company. Yeah. That would be a great
it's almost like that. It would almost be like this would be the plan from the get-go kind of a thing, right? Like like William Regal would be like the Emperor Palpatine, like behind the scenes, like pulling the strings and getting, Darth, Anakin to turn into Darth Vader and those kind of things. Except in this case, Anakin was always bad in MJF, and this is some kind of masterful plan. You talk about Regal's response when MJF said he made me want to kill myself, and Regal just like borderline starts laughing at him. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, Regal. Like, God damn.
I love how he says, I'm an ODF, an ordinary decent villain.
And that was the other thing that was so good. Like, he's sitting there telling him, like, yeah, I was a bad guy, but I didn't hit people like Tony Schiavone, right? Anytime I pulled out these brass knucks, it's not that I needed to hit people with them. I just love bloody knocking people unconscious, right? It's like he enjoyed doing it. He didn't need to, and just really leaned into the fact that MJF always knocks out the people with Dynamite Diamond Ring because that's what he needed to do to win that match, and it's not that he's actually better. So I do kind of like that idea of Regal, once again, pushing the right buttons and playing a long game and pulling the strings with MJF to get him to his full potential, and then stand there as the proud overlord as MJF raises up the AEW World Championship. I would be 100% on board with that. That said, again, I've brought this up a million times. I go back to the AEW media scrum where Chris Jericho mentioned the fact that he talked to MJF and said, hey, look, when you come back, you're going to be a babyface. And MJF's like, I don't want to fucking be a babyface. I don't know what the hell that looks like. Right. And Jericho's like, you'll figure it out, right? Like that's what happens. You'll figure it out. And he's like, MJF will be the biggest babyface in our business, and he'll be a game changer because of it. And I think that's why you have to go that way, because it's going that way, and it's effing brilliant right now. They're in a win-win situation. I think any way that they decide to go is going to work out flawlessly. The only way they could fuck this up, in my opinion, is to not have MJF win the AEW World Championship at Full Gear. He's got to win that belt. He has to. By hook, by crook, heel, babyface. I love Jon Moxley, the king of Cincinnati. MJF needs to be the world champion coming out of Newark, New Jersey.
100%. This is his coronation. Full Gear has now become the place where they crown new world champions. Hopefully, I'll be there. So that would be great to witness that live once again, like I did last year at Full Gear when Hangman was crowned. And it seems like Full Gear is also the place not only where new world champions are crowned, where originals, AEW originals, are crowned AEW world champion.
Man, I'm looking at that weekend. I'm off that weekend. I'm like, how far of a drive is Newark, New Jersey? Could I get there in and out? Like, I kind of want to be there for this because I feel like it's going to be a really big effing deal. Real quick, SP3, because I brought this up on Tuesday. I wanted to get your opinion on it. This is your favorite shit's going down here. Wrestling Observer Today reporting WWE is considering bringing back King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown tournaments. Your reaction? Your reaction?
Oh, man. This is why that's why I turned it down when you brought it up the other day, because you was at least innovative and creative. Like 1 year King of the Ring, the next year Queen's Crown. At least that's a little bit creative. No, we have learned. We should have learned from the last time. It's not just because Vince McMahon can't book it. I mean, dude, Triple H don't have a great track record with tournaments either. Like, yeah, he's done great with the Mae Young Classics and the Cruiserweight, Cruiserweight Classic and Mae Young Classic. Those are great, but on NXT television, all I remember is that the first breakout tournament was won by Jordan Miles. You remember Jordan Miles, who's now ACH?
Shit.
It was now ACH. That worked out great.
All I'm going to say, if you're going to bring him back, it got to mean something, man. They got to mean something. I mean, as much as we all were happy when Xavier won the King of the Ring tournament, that's all he wanted his entire life was to win the King of the Ring. They let him be king for like 2 fucking months. And then he got hurt and he came back and all of a sudden the crown was gone. We're like, what the fuck? Queen Zelina ain't Queen Zelina no more. It's like they went the complete opposite. King Corbin was King Corbin for like 2 fucking years and never won a match. So, in fact, he lost his crown to Shinsuke Nakamura after 2 years. Then they finally bring the tournaments back. They don't mean a fucking thing. They need to mean something if you're going to bring it back. Don't just do it to fucking do it. Speaking of Triple H. Wrong button. There we go.
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
False start. Rick Ucchino, 5-yard penalty. Go to Bet Online. Use our promo code Bleav to get 100% back on your first deposit on actual sports betting. Oops. Speaking of Triple H, we talked about it earlier. I said we were going to circle back to this. This is a very interesting question to me, SP3. He's all about doing what's best for business. CM Punk is healthy. His non-compete is over. He is a free agent. Do you pick up the phone? Do you call CM Punk? Do you see if you can work out a deal to bring him back to WWE? Do you see a scenario in which that would behoove Triple H to do that from a business standpoint?
Yeah, I can see a scenario because it would be like the big move to get the guy who was the guy that Tony Khan decided to put AEW on the back of. Like, he was the biggest signing. He was a part of the biggest pay-per-view buy rates that the company ever did, the biggest ratings that they ever drawed. It just makes a whole bunch of sense. And this is like a moment that no one thought would ever happen again. Like, it was similar to Bret the Hitman Hart coming back to WWE. A lot of people in like 98, 99 thought it would never happen the way he left the company, and the way CM Punk left the company in 2014, 2015, 2016. People wished and hoped it would happen. They would chant his name, but like 2017, 2018, they was like, it ain't happening. Then the dude shows up on WWE backstage and we're like, there's a chance.
Yeah.
And then that quickly disappeared. So yeah, it would be kind of the big stamp. If you want a bigger return to the company than your Bray Wyatts, than your Sasha Banks, CM Punk would be that.
He would be the guy, but there are a lot of questions there. And I got to give a shout out to Jeremy Lambert of Fightful, because he was the guy who tweeted it this morning when I saw it, and it made a ton of sense. Look, there's a lot that comes with this guy, including the option of how does it upset the apple cart that you bring this guy into the locker room. We saw in a very short time what happened in the AEW locker room. I mean, remember, like this time last year when Punk was back, WWE was in the rut. Everybody is singing AEW's praises. Everybody's happy. We got CM Punk tweeting back and forth with Hangman Adam Page about assless chaps and this, that, and the other thing, and everybody's having a great time. And then fast forward a year later, Triple H is in charge of WWE. Everybody's having a great time. The product is better than it's ever been. AEW is still turning out a great product, but it is nothing but backstage turmoil and fights between this, that, and the other people, and it's spreading to guys like Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara and Andrade. You got guys who are asking for their release. There's a lot of negative stuff going on backstage, and Tony Khan is trying to corral it, rallying the troops behind guys like Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho. But all of a sudden, it ain't all sunshine and roses and lollipops and daisies in AEW. And I'm not saying it isn't WWE either. You're fooling yourself if you think everybody's holding hands and singing Kumbaya backstage in WWE. It don't work that way. You're not going to get along with everybody you work with. Chances are you know that with whatever job you're at on your present day. All right? So, but it's amazing how quickly things can change. And that locker room in AEW deteriorated around CM Punk very, very quickly. This is a guy with a strong personality who tends to butt heads. And the other question I have, and I brought it up earlier, is the durability factor. If all of the backstage bullshit never happened, if CM Punk didn't blow up on that press scrum and shit all over Kenny Omega and the Elite and led to that brawl backstage, CM Punk still wouldn't be the AEW World Champion for the second time because he got hurt again. So he gets the foot injury diving into the stands, which was kind of a dumb fuck thing to do, but he did it multiple times without being hurt anyway. It's just part of his character. He's a man of the people. Fine. Hits his foot on the guardrail. Freak accident. Could happen to anybody, right? Second match, beats Jon Moxley, tears his tricep in the match. Now all of a sudden you got a pattern. And now you have to start worrying yourself. So if you are Triple H, I agree with you. If you're looking at this, I think you have to do it as either a one-off or a Legends part-time thing. There's no way you can give a full ironclad, big, multi-million-dollar, multi-year deal to CM Punk. You just can't, because of the baggage that comes with him, because of the injury concerns that come with him. He is at an older age, and heck, look at Edge. Edge is wrestling great at an older age, but he also gets banged up from time to time. He himself tore his triceps when he came back after a lengthy absence. So there's a lot of risk factors there with CM Punk about what it would do to morale, what it would do to backstage, and honestly, who would Punk work with? That's the other big thing. He goes back to like WWE. If it's for like a one-time match, like who's the big guy? Is it Cody Rhodes? Is that who you bring back? Is it CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes? What do you do there?
It's either Roman. You either do Roman, you do Triple, and Triple H not wrestling again.
Yeah, he can't wrestle.
That's out there.
He ain't pulling the
you do Roman Reigns. You do Roman Reigns if you you want to do it at WrestleMania and Roman's versus The Rock, you do Seth Rollins. Then like he's got to verse one of the top guys. There's no option. Cody Rhodes would be cool, but we've kind of been there, kind of done that as far as them facing in WWE. Yeah, it has a different aura to them because they're the two guys you got from AEW. So that's definitely, on the options, but I would definitely put Roman and Seth ahead of him.
That's totally fair. 100% fair. Be interesting to see what happens. First things first, the buyout has to come to fruition, and as of right now, we just know that it's being worked on. For one night and one night only, SP3, we got the AEW NXT Tuesday Night War. It's going to be very interesting to see how the ratings shook out. We asked this week whether or not WWE had a prayer of beating AEW because they were apparently all in, reportedly, on knocking off AEW this Tuesday. They got close. It was a really high rating for NXT for where they're comparably are on their normal night on Tuesday. AEW did take a bit of a dip. I think it was somewhere in the ballpark of 750 to 680, somewhere in there. It was close. It was within 100,000 viewers. NXT won, or AEW won in the demo. Your reaction to AEW kind of squeaking out the win there on the Tuesday Night War?
I mean, it made sense to me. I mean, compared to what NXT usually does, I didn't expect AEW to switch nights and still get their 900,000 to 1 million viewers, especially when your competition is the MLB playoffs and the NBA opening week. So I think that anyone who thought AEW was going to smash them and a blowout on a Tuesday night, that was foolish. Honestly, NXT should have had the advantage. If they're up in the ratings and AEW has to switch nights, and not only they have to go, you both have to go against the same sports competition. AEW is more affected by people watching sports than WWE ever is.
Yeah.
WWE had all the makings to win this, especially when they're throwing in advertising about 10 to 12 main roster people and throw in like 2 or 3 surprises on top of that. This is not a developmental show. Like I love the WWE fans that are so upset. Like I wrote an article for Wrestle Talk, and the article just in the headline was AEW beats NXT in the head-to-head matchup, and people got so upset with that.
SP3, are you trying to tell me that wrestling fans got upset about something?
No, they got upset because a company lost to another company in the ratings. The thing that they said didn't matter, but it sure does matter when I say someone beat them in the ratings. AEW had to stack up, had to have 4 world title matches against a developmental show and only won by 76,000 viewers. Oh my goodness. Stop it. This was not a developmental show. This had Kevin Owens on it. Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, the OC, Shinsuke Nakamura. Are you kidding me? This was Raw and SmackDown light.
Here's my reaction to it. This was a good night for professional wrestling, period. Because they were both shows were facing stiff competition. AEW had a tough draw going up against the MLB playoffs. There was a chance they could have been preempted. Luckily, the New York Yankees took care of business ahead of that. And what are they up? But aren't they down like 2-0 to the Astros?
We're down 0-2, but we come back from greater deficits, ladies and gentlemen.
Please,
but
beat the piss out of Dusty Baker. Please, just do it.
I hope. But yeah, I mean, it lucked out with that, definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, this was a good night. They had stiff competition, Major League Baseball playoffs, NBA, NHL getting underway, all of that. AEW had to switch nights, got people out of their rhythm, and still 1.4 million people tuned into both shows. The ratings are going up for NXT. All things considered, AEW with a really, really great show, did a really good number. Let's just be happy with that and stop the fucking fighting.
Yeah.
Speaking
NXT
of that,
decent.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I've had my kids all week. I want to watch that before Halloween Havoc this weekend. But speaking of people losing their minds on the internet, SP3, I saw that Athena was trending this week. A lot of people talking about Athena online, which honestly they should on a regular basis because she's one of the best doing it right now. And I wish she got more time to showcase that, not just on Dark and Elevation and all this other stuff, but to actually have more matches on Rampage and, Dynamite and things like that, because she's really fucking good at what she does. And I can't stress that enough. She's really good at what she does. Now, This should not have come to a surprise to me, considering the level of vitriol that just spews out of every corner of the goddamn internets. But we had people losing their ever-loving mind, right? It was a 6-minute match that Athena had in Toronto with Jody Threat. If you don't know who Jody Threat is, I didn't know much about her myself, but I did some research after this came down. Canadian independent star, seems to have a lot of talent. I've watched a few of her matches. Nothing anywhere like, if you haven't watched any of Jody Threat's matches and you're one of these people who's complaining about Athena, go watch Jody Threat's matches and then go back and watch that Athena match on Dark, because there were people losing their minds, SP3, taking like a 15-second clip of Athena laying in some forearms, saying all this kind of like she's beating this jobber's ass. She's being a danger. She's just being reckless. I saw somebody say she should be fired, SP3, for laying in a couple of stiff-looking forearms. And then we had people whose opinion that I actually respect look at the vertical suplex dump out to the bottom floor saying, that's such a dangerous move. What are we doing? Tony Khan's going to get somebody killed. And then we get the report, SP3, from Fightful Select that AEW actually pulled them aside because the match got too aggressive for their liking. Motherfucker, you guys literally put on a giant cage match this year called Blood and Guts, where you had a dude get hung off the side of the cage like he just got butchered by Predator, and you are going to sit here and tell me that this match is too aggressive for you guys. What the fuck is happening, SP3? This double standard when it comes to women's professional wrestling is so blatantly obvious, and it needs to stop, because these same mouth breathers online who are sitting there hemming and hawing over some forearms for Athena would be standing at attention applauding when it's Sheamus and Gunther doing the same fucking thing. God damn it, what are we doing?
I'm not as angry as Rick is, ladies and gentlemen. All I will say is that AEW, I think they did the right thing by going to them and asking them if everything was all right, if they felt like it was too aggressive. And what they did find out is that Jody Threat kind of didn't remember a spot in her comeback, and Athena kind of improvised all of that, and that's why it looked more aggressive than what it actually was. So I think AEW was on the right. So we don't need to kind of criticize them for that, regardless of putting on blood and guts and barbed wire everywhere matchup. If a match looks like it didn't go the way it was supposed to go, and then you find out it didn't go the way it was supposed to go, then the company, we should be criticizing the company if they didn't go to Athena and Jody Threat.
I have no problem with them pulling them aside and just saying, hey, everything cool, everything go all right, that's fine. But when I do read that line that the match was too aggressive for AEW management's liking, that's where I kind of took it to, and I'm not really mad, and I'm not going to nitpick and all that kind of stuff. I got on a roll there. My thought process is here for these people more online than anything, who are just jumping all over this, and I'm going, what are we doing?
As far as the people jumping online, that's what they do. There's literally pages dedicated to AEW botches. There's literally a video that someone that we very much respect constantly retweets of stuff that happened like 2-3 years ago. And they add a new clip to it, and they be like, see, it's still going on. Still happening to this day. These people need to have a performance center. There's fans that say AEW should have a performance center. Like Taz was like, oh my God. Taz was like, a performance center is just a cool name for a good wrestling school. And I hate to tell you this, most of the people working for AEW, most of the clips you show, these people graduated from good wrestling schools. Regardless of it having a performance center or not, AEW has a training school with the Nightmare Factory. So they have people that can work on things. This was just one instant, and I feel like it completely got overblown. You had people saying that Athena was taking out her frustration with not being on Dynamite and all these other stuff when she was on Dynamite like 2 weeks ago. What are we talking about here? What are we doing here?
Guys, and here's the other thing. It's a wrestling match. What do you want it to look like? There's nothing, SP3, that takes me out of a match more than a weak-looking punch that gets sold like somebody got hit with an Atlas stone. It completely takes me out of it. The number one rule in wrestling is make it believable. Make it look real. Protect your opponent at all costs, absolutely. But it's a fucking wrestling match, man. Shots are going to look stiff. Sometimes you're going to land kicks. Sometimes you're going to land punches. Sometimes you're going to have a really bad-looking bump that's going to hurt way more than what it looked like. It's pro wrestling. They signed up for this shit. The era of lingerie pillow fights is fucking over. These women want to go and prove that they're just as good as the guys. Fucking let them cook. Let them work. God damn. I remember when people lost their fucking mind, SP3, when Randy Orton gave an RKO to Beth Phoenix. That is a front bump. It boils down to a basic front bump, and people lost their damn minds because Randy Orton gave Beth Phoenix an RKO. What the hell are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. SP3, we were both kind of scratching our heads at the time when Bianca Belair retained her Raw Women's Championship over Bayley at Extreme Rules in that ladder match. We both kind of thought that it was Bayley's time to win that championship. But the fact that that did not happen meant that Bianca Belair made some history this week. Now, over 200 days as the reigning Raw Women's Champion, and she has become the first Black WWE superstar, male or female, to hold a world championship for more than 200 days. Your thoughts on that?
Definitely, it's worthy of praise and congratulations to Bianca Belair. She is well deserving of this. She is kind of a poster child when you think about people that are homegrown talent from WWE, like started off in the Performance Center and worked their way up. Bianca Belair is like a hallmark for that. She is probably the star that has reached the highest apex. You know, I know there's going to be people that say, well, what about Roman Reigns? Roman Reigns wasn't trained at the Performance Center. So Seth Rollins was not trained at the Performance Center.
Yeah.
Anyone you can name, maybe Charlotte Flair, you could say, yeah, a lot of her training came at the Performance Center, but the fact that Bianca Belair has this, athletic background, being an athlete, and, just her story, and then being African American on top of that, I think that she is a true kind of, inspirational story coming out of the Performance Center, and she's well deserving. I think her booking has been very much strong over the victory with Bayley over the last year, despite the company not always focusing on her. I felt like the first half of this reign, the focus was more on Becky than Bianca, and then the second half of the reign, especially the build up to Extreme Rules, the focus was more on Bayley and Damage Control than Bianca. At least she still has held this championship, and she's really creating her own legacy. And this is the reign that I wish she would have had last year. Maybe she would be even a bigger star now if they would have done this last year, but I'm happy that they're getting it done now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bianca Belair is a once in a generation talent, and I mean that because the stuff that she's able to do in the ring, it never ceases to amaze me because she makes it look effortless. She makes the most difficult shit look incredibly, incredibly easy. And she is over with the crowd. She knows how to talk. She is being booked stronger than any woman not named Ronda Rousey or any of the four horsewomen has ever had in WWE for that matter. And maybe even stronger than some of the four horsewomen. I think she's officially hit that upper echelon level as far as the women's division that we've talked about. And she has really kind of carried this division on Raw, and she deserves everything because she is that damn good. And it does make me happy to see her get a run like this.
And it's the fact that she's not only just like an inspiration to people at the Performance Center, as someone that has a young Black female child, daughter, she's the type of person that I would put on the TV for my daughter and be like, I want you to strive, whatever it is. If it's wrestling, that's great. If it's not wrestling, whatever you do, strive to be as good as Bianca Belair is to her craft. So I just love that Bianca Belair is that representation that is so needed, that hasn't always been seen in WWE. It's great to see.
100%. We do have a premium live event this weekend, Saturday night, Halloween Havoc on the cock. A lot of big matches. Any big and bold predictions for Halloween Havoc this weekend, SP3?
This Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, Halloween Havoc will end with Austin Theory as your new NXT champion. I think this is Triple H's big trump card. Everybody was like, oh man, Austin Theory's been losing so much. Oh man, he's not gonna cash in this Money in the Bank to beat Roman Reigns. Well, no, the booking of Money in the Bank historically has been this Money in the Bank winners go on long losing streaks before they cash in successfully and win a championship, and they will continue the tradition that Vince McMahon started. Triple H and Shawn Michaels will continue it by having Austin Theory not only cash in successfully, but make history by becoming the first man to cash in on the NXT championship.
So that means he would have started in NXT, gone up to Raw, went back down to NXT, go back up to Raw, and then come back down to NXT once again. I would like that better than him cashing in on Roman Reigns and failing.
And each time he's gotten higher on the card. He was a lower card guy the first time he got called up. Then he goes back. He gets a little bit more of a prominent position with Johnny Gargano in the way. Goes back to Raw, gets a push there, wins Money in the Bank, comes back, and now he's going to be the top guy.
Here's my bold prediction. Again, check out my interview with Apollo Crews, which is now up right now. That match intrigues me because it's a spin the wheel, make the deal. We don't know what type of match we are getting, SP3. We have no idea what type of match we are getting. All I'll say is this. There has not been this much focus on somebody's damn eyeball since Rollins and Mysterio. We are getting eye for an eye 2 at Halloween Havoc tomorrow between Grayson Waller and Apollo Crews. That is my bold prediction. Eye for an eye 2 at Halloween Havoc this weekend. And I think Chucky will get involved probably.
We'll probably just get a blindfold match.
Probably. Bird box match.
A blindfold match. Oh, man.
I did ask Apollo about that possibility. You can check out his response. Again, that interview is up in its entirety right now. SP3, probably big weekend for you over at True Heel Heat, yeah?
Yes, we got True Heel Heat 198 coming in on episode 200 in a few weeks. We're going to be previewing a last preview for NXT Halloween Havoc, talk about the week in wrestling, Punk not coming back, Bray Wyatt news, all that good stuff over on True Heel Heat. It'll be myself, Miss Chrissy Love, and Chris G talking about the week in wrestling. So check that out and check out my NXT Halloween Havoc preview with Romeo up on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel right now.
Very good. Don't forget, guys, if you like what you heard today, hit that thumbs up button. Really does help our audience. Turn on the notifications so you can get those alerts whenever we do put up some new content for you guys. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do it. Also, check out my pinned tweet. Find out how you can win $100 cash money to either WWE or AEW shop as soon as we hit 500 subscribers. We are inching there. We're getting there. We're going to get there by the end of the year. I can absolutely feel it. Enjoy SmackDown, Rampage, Halloween Havoc, Lost in the Mid-Card with Jeremy and Matt. We'll be back 7 p.m. Monday night. SP3 and myself will be back 2:15 live once again on Tuesday afternoon. Until then, enjoy your weekend. This has been the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast brought to you by Bet Online.